Good afternoon. My name is Winifred Ofure Badaiki, and I'm going to be conducting a global market analysis and analyzing why Target failed to expand successfully into Canada. Target Corporation was founded in 1962 by George Dayton and was originally known as Dayton Dry Goods before it was later renamed to Dayton Hudson Corporation. The company's headquarters is in Minneapolis, Minnesota, in the United States, and it is the eighth largest retailer in the United States as of 2024. It positions itself as a discount retailer and stands out by offering stylish yet affordable products, which gives it the nickname cheap chic. So, an overview of Target's global expansion. It initially focused on strengthening its presence in the United States before venturing or expanding its business internationally in the early 2010s. Its first significant international expansion was entering into Canada, which would be seen as a normal or natural expansion because of the similarities that Canada and US share. And this made Target to acquire 124 locations from Zellers, a retailer here in Canada. And although the expansion failed because of operational issues, financial losses, and also failing to meet Canadian consumer expectations, which we are going to explore in this presentation. Now, an overview of the Canadian retail market. The Canadian retail market is very competitive. And as at then, when Target moved into Canada, we had big names. Their major competitors was Canadian Tire, Loblaw, and Walmart, which has been in Canada for over 20 years. And when Target entered Canada in 2013, it's hard to face these competitors. But unknown to them, Canadian shoppers are known for being sensitive to price, which is influenced by higher taxes and import duties. So, according to a report by PwC, the most important factors for Canadian shoppers are price, products, quality, loyalty programs, and convenience. And we're going to be moving to cultural diversity due to the immigrants that Canadian that is prominent in Canada. Canada's population is diverse, so this is very important for retailers to meet a wide range of cultural preferences and tastes. Also, the Canadian law requires that all products sold in Canada must have labels both in English and in French, including the product name as well as the manufacturing details. This requirement is especially like strict in Quebec, and Quebec was one of the regions that Target expanded into. Next, we're going to look at why the strong competitors had a competitive edge over Target when it entered Canadian markets using the Porter's 5 law. First, industry rivalry. These three companies, they were already well known and they had a strong customer loyalty base as well as product range that resonated very well with Canadians. Walmart on its own had a very huge, massive global network, and their prices, this gave them the ability to keep their prices low and made it tough for Target to compete in price. Threat of new entrants. They had already established their presence, the Canadian Tire, Walmart, and Loblaws, and they already had strong supplier relationships. So it was difficult for a new player like Target to come in and seize the game out or build strong relationships with suppliers. So it was high, as well as their bargaining power of the buyers was also high. So now we're going to be assessing the market entry strategy that Target used. So when Target entered in the Canada market in 2011, they acquired 220 stores, but they opened 124 stores in the first year, and this cost them over 1.82 billion dollars. So this approach is known as wholly owned subsidiary because they purchased the remaining leases of Zell stores. So this minimized construction costs and sped up its market entry. However, they were directed by the fact that there's a strong demand for their products in Canada. So now, why was this strategy not successful? First, the Zella stores they acquired, they needed extensive renovation, and this led to like operational issues and negative customer experience. Also, they had not established a robust supply chain in Canada because they had just moved in, opening it. So this disrupted their supply chain and their inventory management as well, leading to frequent stock shortage and inventory problem. Lastly, Canadians faced like higher prices in the Target branch in Canada as compared to their US stores. So there was discrepancies in their prices as well. So now we're going to be applying global market theories, and we're going to look at standardization versus adaptation. From the market entry strategy that Target used, they executed a standardized method of expansion. Standardization involves using the same marketing strategy and mix in all your company's international markets. So the strategy you're using in your home country is the same strategy you're going to adopt globally in all your. However, adaptation, also known as glocalization, modifies the strategy that fits the local culture that you're entering, which is the strategy that Target should have used. Instead, Target tried to copy or duplicate the strategy it's used in US into Canada without understanding the Canadian market and knowing that Canadians are different from from the American consumers. Now, the impact of culture. Target didn't full As I mentioned, they didn't fully understand that there was a cultural difference between American and Canadian shoppers. So, for example, Canadians prefer local brands, and instead Target focused on private labeled brands and American brands, which turned off their Canadian customers and kind of alienated them, as they are very price conscious in Canada as compared to their American consumers. Also, what also the regulatory issues was another problem for them, having to the bilingual labeling that they also experienced in Canada. So what could they have done differently? So Target's CFO, John Milligan, he admitted that their strategy of opening 124 stores was not so was too aggressive. And I agree with him. If they had controlled their entry, or maybe adopted a marketing strategy like McDonald's, opening in small they would have been able to control their entry, and it would have allowed them adjust based on consumer feedback and operational results. Also, they should have employed management that are familiar with Canadian retail. Those are localized people. As you can see from a comment, a Reddit user said Canadian employers who previously worked in the stores that Target acquired, they gave them valuable advice, but they overlooked this advice, and they didn't leverage local expertise. They didn't leverage um, expertise, which they could have. Two, they could have improved their supply chain management by improving their continuous improvement. And three, they could have made a better market adaptation by tailoring their product selection to meet Canadians' expectations. And also pricing strategy adjustments. They could have been more proactive in communicating and quickly responding to customer feedback to prevent the negative perception, so they understand the pricing. And lastly, they should have enhanced market research. The importance of market research cannot be overemphasized, because now they didn't conduct in-depth research to understand Canadian shopping habits. Now, if I was CEO, from a CEO's perspective, hypothetically, I would first acquire a large. I would instead of acquiring a large number of locations from Zellers and launching stores everywhere, I will adopt, as I mentioned earlier, McDonald's strategy, and in few strategically placed, and it will allow me to adapt better to the market. I'm going to partner with local suppliers, local sourcing, and then customize my product to meet Canadian markets. So, recommendations for future expansion. It's important to conduct thorough market research before expanding into a country you don't know about. Strengthen your local partnership. Establish robust supply chain infrastructure. And in summary, this Target exit from Canada serves as a potent reminder for the complexities involved in international market expansion. It's not just to dive in head start. You have to make extensive research. So this highlights the needs of comprehensive planning, local customization, and the importance of scalability and flexibility in strategic execution. So this slide wraps up the key lessons and strategic takeaways from Target's experience in Canada. Um, and it offers guidance but for future endeavors expanding into new markets. Thank you very much.